From the first big opening scene of A Thug's Ascension, it looked like I was in for a high testosterone blocky first-person shooter, full of a bunch of gun-toting mercenaries ready to shoot first and have their mouths washed out with soap later. By far, this is my favorite, most ridiculous line of the entire game. Setting up the opening act, how it introduces the characters, the way it throws you into its initial story, it felt like I was playing a cinematic movie-like experience. A lot of love and care went into its beginning moments, taking huge inspirations from cinematic movies, and even though the game's appearance may look rough, it actually runs smoother than some high-budget games, and I even prefer its driving mechanics to that of the original Watch Dogs. Not that that's a high bar to beat. From what it says on A Thug's Ascension Steam page, its goal was to present players with a slow-paced crime drama, but as a video game, and for the most part, it delivered that. Although it also leaned a little too far into the slow-paced a lot of the time. In the beginning, everything felt like it was important. Names, characters, backstories, its text-based dialogue was delivering all of it, and I didn't want to miss a thing. So I was carefully reading every part of it. But as the game went on, a lot of the exposition didn't end up being exposition. It was more like run-on dialogue, with lots of extra details and info that weren't relevant to the progression of the plot or the story. And once I'd started to realize that, all the dialogue started to feel like it went on forever and its pacing became a real issue. Even the important stuff was dragging on because I didn't know what was actual plot information and what was just filler. Movies and TV shows, or even some video games, can get away with this when the dialogue is voiced and it occurs while things are happening. Characters talking about food they like in a crime drama TV show as the characters walk through an active shootout gives details about the characters. It shows a bit about their personality and that something most of us would consider extremely dangerous is just average run-of-the-mill for them. But reading the dialogue as everybody stands stationary around a table is just boring and it feels like a waste of time. In that situation, I don't care about what someone's personal food tastes are, just give me the juicy plot information. It took me about 5 hours to get through the game, and a lot of that time was spent skimming through and skipping over a lot of the dialogue as it over-explained or dumped extra filler stuff on me, which if I read things at a normal pace, I could have probably added another hour onto the game easily. Now, while at times it really dragged on, and I can't stress enough how much it did, so if you decide to play the game, prepare yourself for that. But there were also a lot of moments where A Thug's Ascension completely nailed the presentation of a crime drama with how it set up scenes, hinted at and delivered the motives or relationships between characters. It made some of the really big decisions feel strong and meaningful, and it made some of the losses throughout the story even more devastating, although it could have put a little more work into writing a proper female character. I don't want to say too much about the story and spoil things for people interested in trying it out, so know that by the time I completed the game, I did not regret my time playing it, but there were several times throughout the experience that I was pretty sure I was going to. If you decide to give this game a shot, which for 12 bucks Canadian, it's not that bad of a price, prepare yourself for some heavy and dark topics throughout the story. Some of them, I don't know if they were covered in a way that's quite appropriate for what they are, but nothing ever felt like it was added in a derogatory or cruel way, nor was anything ever put in just for shock value. It was in there as an attempt to build an emotional and powerful story. Also, there are two levels in particular that are very frustrating. I won't spoil what they are, but if you ever get to a level where you just keep randomly dying for seemingly no reason as you try to move forward, just know that it means you're supposed to wait. You're not supposed to move forward in those moments, don't go anywhere. You're supposed to wait for someone to either stop shooting or for more enemies to spawn, or sometimes both, and if you try to go forward in those moments, you will always instantly die, and I had to go through that countless of times before I could figure out what was happening. If you find yourself struggling with those moments, just know that you have to wait. At the end of the day, even though I don't believe anything was added into this game with bad intentions, I could still see it being a bit controversial with some of the topics and story elements, but I'm happy I pushed through the slow and sluggish section. Oh god, I can't even say that. But I'm happy I made it to the conclusion.